And now please welcome our wonderful poet, Mary Oishi.
Thank you so much. I'm delighted to be back here. This is one of my favorite places to read. I wrote a poem especially for this place the first time I read. But I've read it here before, so I don't know if I should read it again. This is one that I wrote since my book came out, so it will be in my next book, I guess. I'm trying to convince my daughter to submit 30 poems that I can put with 30 of mine and do a mother-daughter book. So we'll see. She wouldn't do that when she was in law school, but maybe she will now. So this poem is called When I Asked How My Mother Could Give Me Away. Dad always told me, she loved you that night I drove through a goddamn Pennsylvania snowstorm to get you to the hospital. That time you had pneumonia, your mother holding you, crying the whole way. I plowed that old 53 Buick straight through snowdrifts fast as I could go. I don't know what to tell you, girl. She loved you that day. That much I know. So I was actually asking the wrong question. My mother didn't give me away. I was stolen, basically, by her sister-in-law who was conceived at a Klan rally. And she was a white supremacist named Lillian, so I'm writing a memoir called The Little Jap That Lily Raised. That's how I'm known up there in the Appalachian Mountains of Pennsylvania. Flat earth, white people. Mom used a lot of bleach when she washed her sheets. They came out really, really white. Salt is white. Before the dogs get to it, snow is white. Clouds are sometimes gray, but the big puffy ones are always white. I used to lie on the ground so still, I thought I could feel the earth slowly turning under them. Mom's parents used to sew those sheets into robes and pointed hats because they thought they themselves were white, thought God was white, even told me I was half white. They learned this from their ancestors who never ventured this way until the earth had finally become round for several centuries. Guess they never got real still under the clouds or in front of the mirror. I had a review of my book, Spirit Birds, They Told Me, which will be for sale afterwards in the back. And in the Women's Review of Books, it comes out of Wellesley, I believe. And the reviewer said that my best feature was my humor. So I figured I'd better read a few humorous ones today. This one's called McJesus. This is also in my book. McJesus. I reached Jesus on his cell phone. I needed 10 minutes of FaceTime, but he was between appointments. You know how it is. God has his busy days. I said I understood and broke down crying, so he said, "Aw, call me. Maybe I can meet with you on Thursday. I left my Palm Pilot in my other coat. Or email me tonight. Let's talk about it, but I just can't meet with you today." I was disappointed, but I understood his McCaring schedule's full. I thought maybe he'd call me to check in later, but I guess he forgot about me or just figured I'd be fine. So I called today but got his voicemail, and I didn't leave a message. Don't want to bother God. I know it's hard to do compassion in this modern world. So many needs. A person's got to know their limits and take care of themselves, even Jesus, especially Jesus. Sometimes it's just easier to write a check for what you care about. You know, can't do it all. So I have faith that when Jesus gets a moment, he'll make a generous donation to crisis intervention if he can. I have to wax a little bit serious, huh? I spent a lot of years bitter about how my life started and being taken from my parents. But I have come to know the value of forgiveness and gratitude, because I got a lot out of being the little Jap that Lily raised. They stood me up in front of the Pilgrim Holiness Church of Muir, Pennsylvania when I was 3 years old to play Mary Magdalene, and when I was 7 to preach my first sermon, because they had never seen anyone like me. None of them had ever gone past 8th grade. And so because of that, I can stand up here completely free of nerves, you know. So I try to be grateful. This is called Redemption Song. This is the poem I wrote for when it was still called the Church of Beethoven. Its voice was much like mine, alto, lower than the violins. I sat in rapt attention as the man on stage played on. Music so unlike the raucous mountain gospel clapped in my Sunday ears. No, these rich winds lifted me up from RD2, from where a few familiar cars drove by. This music whooshed God off his throne, sat me there a while without the faintest air of disrespect. I knew that I must learn to play. The ones who raised me never had to scold for me to practice. I gladly tried to glide that bow with grace enough to lift me up again. Out of 8th grade is the highest you can go, out of this world where Satan lurked in all things fun and beautiful. 1,000 days of private paradise until a proud if stilted night when Mom and Dad, awkward as catfish in their Sunday finest, sat rigid in their Friday seats, clapped only when the others did, for me up there so small, playing pizzicato next to college kids in Fiddler on the Roof. Long way from when I came home 2nd grade, excited, begging, they agreed to let me play an instrument whose name they never heard before. What is it again? Viola? Viola was my only place to go, where Pearl Harbor never happened, where white was not the standard, Japanese was not a shame, where everyone could spend the night unharmed despite their size, shape of their eyes, or color of their skin. Words can be knives as sharp and swift as swords from grown-ups' mouths. The principle that 5th grade day, your parents must not care about you very much. They have not paid. You must surrender your viola. Instructor like a guillotine chimes in his overkill. It's such a shame, good as you are. They brought home a big brown-handled case holding their hoped-for redemption, a plain old Wurlitzer accordion, a yellowed celluloid, not pearly black or red like those Italian ones I'd often seen. I put the straps around my sighing arms, taught myself to play out from the C chord button with no rhinestone, just an unassuming dent to mark its place. To this day, accordions sound like disgrace to me. Yet when I run across one in a thrift store, I can't resist the urge to play, to resurrect those long-gone eyes so full of sorry, to play one happy little song that makes them smile because they did the best they knew, because 4 strings are not the only way to get to God.